All right, Hawkeye, starring Hailee Seinfeld, and also guest starring Jeremy Renner as the other Hawkeye. All right, guys. So here we are. I did finally decide to finish watching the Hawkeye series. I remember telling you guys, excuse me, there's a little something here on my camera. Okay. For those of you who go on the stream, you know that I was not very pleased with the first 3 episodes. I think the first 3 episodes are complete trash. Thankfully, the last 3 episodes, I have to admit, were a lot better. But overall, the show to me was mediocre at best. Here's the thing. I was never a Hawkeye fan in the comics, right? I didn't care about Hawkeye. I always thought Green Arrow was just a better Archer character when you compare the two. And Green Arrow's TV show on the WB, or I guess it depends where I remember for me it was like WPX, that's what the channel was, or Channel 11 when I was watching it back in the day. But the first few seasons of Green Arrow were great, and there were a couple of seasons in between its run that were good, but towards the end it got really bad. But anyway, this is not about Green Arrow. This is about Hawkeye. And again, I was never a fan of the character in the comics. I became more of a fan of Hawkeye in the movies because I like Jeremy Renner, and I thought there was some potential with this character. And unfortunately, that's something I was looking forward to. When you get a show that's called Hawkeye, you expect to see Hawkeye. I'm thinking Jeremy Renner, and I kind of felt like this was a rug pull. Now, that's unfortunate because I like Hailee Seinfeld. I think she's a really talented young actress. And the first time I got to see her was in Pitch Perfect 2. It was a movie series that I thought was quite funny. My wife is a big fan of it. We ended up watching it together, and she was in the sequel. And from that time forward, every time I saw her on screen, I thought she had a lot. She was very vibrant, very animated. She always kind of, made, I don't want to say stole the scene, but she was hard to ignore on screen is what I'm saying. She's just a very good actress. So it's unfortunate because on one hand, I'm like, oh, this sucks. This is not a Hawkeye show. You can even tell that from the first episode during the introduction. It's basically a animated silhouette of her going through training in karate and archery as she's growing up. A visual exposition, if you will. And then we don't really get too much Jeremy Renner Hawkeye until like the later parts of episode 2. And you get to see him, don't get me wrong, and I thought the Steve Rogers play was great. That was one of the highlights of the first 3 episodes because I thought that was really funny. I'm not going to get too much into the plot because a lot of you probably seen this by now, but basically Hawkeye, or Clint, I should say, is with his kids on a little Christmas trip before Christmas actually starts, spending time with his kids after being gone for so long. And unfortunately, he has to go and help, Kate Bishop. And Kate gets into trouble basically when she goes to investigate why her mother or someone her mother's dating, she's kind of suspicious of him. And she catches him at this underground auction during this party. And basically, they're auctioning off Avengers, for lack of a better term, memorabilia. Basically, just stuff that they shouldn't have. How they got it, they don't really explain that part. Or at least they don't go into too much detail. But basically, that in Endgame, Clint Barton was the Ronin, and that's really where this starts. The Ronin's gear and sword go up for auction. Kate Bishop's mother's boyfriend basically gets the sword, but these criminals named the Tracksuit Mafia come in to steal this stuff, and a lot of things start popping off, and Kate Bishop jumps into action. She has that desire to be a hero. Hawkeye is her, she looks up to him because basically she saw him jump off a building in the Avengers. You all remember the scene where he jumps off the building, turns around, shoots the arrow, swings himself into a window. Anyway, so she gets the Ronin suit, she puts it on, and now everybody thinks the Ronin's back, and this is what starts everything off. And basically each episode is Clint trying to help Kate get out of trouble, but at the same time, Kate trying to learn and become a partner with him. And in the beginning, he's very reluctant. It's really not until episode 3 that they really start putting their heads together. But I also think that this show does something that kind of just tries to pull the veil down on what really is not a show about Hawkeye, basically a show about passing the torch. And what they do is they bring in the Kingpin, all right? And while this is exciting because everybody's been wondering if some of the characters from the Netflix show would make their way into these current shows. And now we've got that confirmation. If you've seen Hawkeye, you know Kingpin's there. If you watched the new Spider-Man movie, you know that Matt Murdock, aka the Daredevil, is in that movie as a cameo. So we know these characters are going to have a bigger role down the line. But I also think that's kind of and good timing by Marvel, right? You get to see Kingpin debut on a Wednesday, and then if you get the early movie tickets for the Thursday viewing of Spider-Man, you get to see the Daredevil the next day. Good job, Disney. So, but while the show does get better, the show actually gets better when Florence Pugh comes in, playing Yelena. For those of you obviously are much aware now, Yelena is the non-blood sister of Natasha Romanoff, and she's going after Clint because she thinks Clint is responsible for Natasha's death, and she's just being vindictive. I think she's more than aware that he wouldn't necessarily kill her. I think she's wondering why he let her do it. And it's really not that simple. The reason we all know Natasha did it because Clint has a family, Clint has kids, and she has, we thought in Endgame she has nobody. Suddenly we get the Black Widow movie that just completely undercuts her sacrifice, but that's for another time. The show gets better in the last 3 episodes. The first 3 episodes are really, I don't want to say bad. The show just does not give the right message. If you're telling me there's a show about Hawkeye, I expect to see a Hawkeye story. This isn't a Hawkeye story. This is a Kate Bishop story with Hawkeye in it. Yes, we get to learn some things about Hawkeye, but nothing really too new. When you consider that he was the Ronin, when you consider there were 5 years where he was running through the underground, why couldn't we get a show exploring that? We know what led to it, but what was he doing in those 5 years? This could have been a great opportunity to really flesh out the Hawkeye character played by, Jeremy Renner. And I think they dropped the ball. I remember when Avengers came out, a lot of people were disappointed with the fact that he got basically mind controlled throughout the whole movie until the end. And since then, we really never have gotten a story involving Hawkeye. And, there were a lot of questions whether it needed a movie or not. And I would agree, despite the fact that I want to know more about Hawkeye's story, I agree that it doesn't necessarily call for a movie. But now that they're doing TV shows, this was a great opportunity that I thought it was wasted on just really setting up in the distant future the Young Avengers. And you could have done that and still done Hawkeye's story. And I think that's why I'm disappointed. I just think there were elements about the show that were good. I do miss the street level stuff. This kind of does remind me of some of the Netflix shows, although without all the violence. And then having Kingpin in this show really drives that home. But I'm not interested. I have nothing against the Kate Bishop character. I mean, we're well aware she's from the comics. And I have no problems bringing her in with other characters to build up the Young Avengers if you want to do that for a TV show. But can we at least focus on the title character? I just don't like the bait and switch. That's really what upset me about the show. I was expecting a Hawkeye show, and I got a Kate Bishop show with Hawkeye in it. And I didn't get more of what I wanted from Hawkeye until the 3rd episode, the 4th episode, because it was a 6-episode season, and really it wasn't until the 4th episode that I really started to like it. And it's only a 6-episode season. So, and this also has the potential to have multiple seasons. This is not something that necessarily has to end. So, I mean, if you're going to do a buddy type of thing, that's fine. But I just think, in my humble opinion, because I know there's a lot of people who like the show, and that's fine. I'm just disappointed that we did not learn more about Clint Barton before we got Clint Barton teaming up and teaching somebody up and coming. I think it was a missed opportunity. And I'm really not too crazy about the Disney shows right now. Look, say what you will about, some of the movies and stuff like that. The movies to me so far are still where the gravy is. It's still where the meat and potatoes are. These shows have been okay. I did like WandaVision. Loki, I liked until some of the things that happened in the end. I thought that Falcon and Winter Soldier was just a bad show. But one thing these shows have in common is they all have to some extent, female villains. And I say to some extent because, like, in Hawkeye, the female villain Echo, she's not really a villain so much to say, but she plays a villain most of the show, and she's horrible. She's horrible, and I know people are gonna, but she's really deaf and she's really only has one leg, and that's fine. But just because she has those things doesn't mean she's immune from criticism. This woman cannot act. She cannot act. She had a smug look the whole show. She showed no emotions, especially to somebody in her group that she did seem to have some sort of connection with. But she always gave him the smug look, always tell, oh, I'm in charge. Look, you don't have to have a smug look and act like a bitch to show how tough you are as a character. And I think sometimes these shows, they try to force this way of showing powerful women that I think is completely just misguided. When we look at powerful female characters of the past, even coming up to the present, they don't do that. You know what I mean? They just go out there and do what they do. But again, this woman cannot act. She hardly showed any emotion until the end. And even then, when she did, this is when she finally realized what Kingpin had done. It looked like she was constipated, So, and then in WandaVision you had, God, I can't even remember her name now. You had Harkness, right? And she was great. Right, and then Loki, you had female Loki, which was a little annoying at times more than anything. And then in Falcon and Winter Soldier, you had Kaylee. I mean, these are not memorable villains, and Marvel is known for not having memorable villains. And now it seems to me it's getting worse. And again, it's not to say you can't have a female in any role, but it's the way you're portraying them that makes them unlikable. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just think that these shows right now, there's something going with them that I'm just not feeling right now. Again, I really did like WandaVision, but I'm also a big Scarlet Witch fan because I love the X-Men, and she's part of the X-Men. She did start off with Avengers, but she is an X-Men through and through. And I don't know. Hawkeye was mediocre. I liked it better than Falcon and Winter Soldier. I will say that much, but it's really only because of the last 3 episodes that really turned it up. But again, that's because of Florence Pugh and also because of the Kingpin, and because you did get more Jeremy Renner. And it's unfortunate because, like I said, I like Hailee Seinfeld. I think she's a great young actress. I like why, I loved her in Bumblebee, right? But what the show did and what they did, right? They didn't try to do it, they did it. The rug pull in the first 3 episodes almost made me not watch it. And if it wasn't for the fact that I do YouTube videos and I do reviews, I probably wouldn't have watched it. Honestly, I wouldn't have. I kind of forced myself to, and luckily it was somewhat salvageable. But that's just my opinion. I know a lot of you guys liked it, so I'm not going to ask in the comment section, what did you guys think? I know a lot of you did like it. I personally did not. I wanted to see more of Clint. I wanted to see more of Hawkeye's story, what happened in the last 5 years. It was very cute with all the Easter eggs, the Mockingbird and his wife and all that. But otherwise, if I guess watch at your own risk, if you haven't seen it yet, but I know most people have. I'm just sharing my thoughts, and I thought it was a mediocre show. All these Disney shows have not been that great. But anyway, that's my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. Hawkeye is just Kate Bishop with Hawkeye in it, and she's going to be the new Hawkeye, basically what this comes down to. And hey, that's cool. I just wanted to see a Jeremy Renner Hawkeye story. I didn't get that, and for that I'm displeased. And the show was split down the middle. It was 6 to 1, half a dozen to the other. I guess if I had to grade it 5 out of 10 stars because it's 50-50, whatever. I'm just blabbering now. But anyway, guys, that's it for this review. And we have a lot more coming up. We still, not today though, probably have more coming up during the week. We still got The Witcher. Still a bunch of movies that I'm going to be reviewing. I still got my Spider-Man movie to review. I still have, we did The Matrix earlier. And there's more, The Witcher. I have Invasion, another TV show. Ted Lasso. I'm going to review that show. That was a very, very good show. I'm trying to think because there's a bunch of movies I've recently watched. I just want to name a couple of them. But, and some of them not all recent either. We also got some movies I've just been kind of collecting to review for you guys. Some of them more, some of them a little bit more obscure than others. But, yeah, there's 12 Strong was one of them I watched recently. I thought it was pretty good. was a movie. Don't Look Up is a new Netflix movie. We're going to review that one. So again, I have a bunch of movies that I've watched that I have down on a list that I'm just going to be reviewing throughout the week to kind of get content out there. We will do Godzilla videos for those of you Godzilla fans, but just don't expect much in those videos because there really isn't much to talk about. Anyway, guys, that is it. Catch me tonight on Fat Samurai Guy's channel where we're going to discuss The Matrix in detail. If you didn't see my review earlier, you know that I ranted the hell out of it, but I'm not quite done. So anyway, and if you're still a member on the channel, because I pretty much know all my members, and I know you guys like to take a little bit more of a political view in today's entertainment, considering that a lot of it is politically driven. I give a little bit more of a political take on what The Matrix actually does, even though I don't think the director intended it. And I think it's pretty amusing. So just keep your eyes open for that. Anyway, guys, that's it for this video. Take it easy. And somebody's meowing. I don't know what that is. We do have a cat, but he's not out here. My dog's out here, and I know my dog doesn't meow. So something's going on. I'm going to have to go investigate. You guys... Yeah, you guys take it easy. Catch you later.